Welcome to the Fantasy Draft Room. This is our 12-team Superflex Tight End Premium Rookie Mock Round 1. So we are just diving into one round today, and I'm going to kick things off here. I'm going to take the 101, and I know it comes down to really two players, and this is the two players we're going to be talking about all the way up until the draft. But if you are drafting before the NFL draft takes place, you have to make a decision, and this is a tough one for me. I do struggle because I love the talent of Marvin Harrison. We've been talking about Caleb Williams for the past, it feels like 4 years, but ever since he's entered college, we've been talking about Caleb Williams. So both of these guys are incredible prospects. Love them both. But right now with Superflex format, I'm still going to lean on the quarterback. I love Marvin Harrison. I do think it's going to be, call it team dependent. If I have my quarterback room set, I have no problem taking Marvin Harrison. Maybe I can trade out of that pick, but I am going to take myself some Caleb Williams today at the 101 and leave you kind of with an easy pick, I guess, from here.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a question whenever you take that first quarterback off the board. There's definitely a conversation for Marvin Harrison to be at the 101, but I don't think there's a conversation unless you're in a super heavy quarterback league where maybe you're in like a 14-team league superflex, 16-team league superflex, or you're in a 6-point per passing touchdown and like a -0 for interceptions, where these quarterbacks in war are just going to be so much higher than the wide receivers. In this type of a league, though, where we're just trying to get to this setting, I do believe the next pick up would have to be MHJ, Marvin Harrison Jr., the junior out of Ohio State, declaring for the draft at this time. Absolutely dominant, just like his father was, and in a lot of aspects, probably better than his father was, which is hard to say, even though I'm a youth. I don't really remember Marvin Harrison Sr., but we have looked back, seen the tape, and we've seen the tape of Marvin Harrison Jr., what he's put on the field at Ohio State the last 3 years. Undeniable, the talent. And yeah, he's going to come into the league as a top 5 dynasty wide receiver. And so he has to be picked here at the 102.
Yeah, pretty easily there, and people are making the argument of him being in the same tier as Jets and Chase already without him setting foot on the field, without knowing what quarterback he's tied to or the team he's tied to or any of that. So, yeah, very interesting situation there. But yeah, I do love Marvin Harrison Jr. Again, these are the top two talents for me, no doubt about it. I also have a debate here at 3 and 4, and this is another struggle that I'm going to have. And I think it's going to be more landing spot dependent, maybe not even draft capital, but I want to find out what organization these two next players I think are going to be off the board. And I also want to find out which coach they're assigned to. That stuff matters, and it truly does make a difference for fantasy and for the success of young quarterbacks. I am going to stick with one Drake May. I've been super high on Drake May going into even last year. Prior to that as well, loved watching Drake May, what he has done at North Carolina, but it is another North Carolina quarterback, and people are going to have their doubts of Sam Howell. They're going to have kind of issue with it, but he is a running threat. He, for fantasy purposes, he does what you need on the ground. He fits a specific profile, and if he goes to a team in a situation that could actually be successful, then I am here for it. And I think that for me, it's, tier 1 is pick 1 and 2. Tier 2 is pick 3 and 4, which I have a feeling I know where you're going next. And yeah, I don't blame you. Tell me about the next guy off the board here.
And the next guy, what you said was that rushing profile. And this is why, honestly, I already typed it in. Jaden Daniels is going to be my pick here at the 104. It's the rushing profile, man. Like 135 we just saw. I'm going to pull up the Drake May one again. 112 rushes for 449 yards in his last season in college. Jaden Daniels, 135 rushes for 1,100 yards. Are you kidding me? On the ground, combined with 3,800 passing yards as well. I mean, this is just a profile that, honestly, I think that by the time we get to draft day is going to comp a lot to the Anthony Richardson. He's not going to have the absolute just 10 RAS score athletic profile that Anthony Richardson had of last year whenever he went to the combine. But whenever you put the rushing profile in front of fantasy managers, like I think we're going to do over the next 5 months, and you start looking at 1,100 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns, along with 40 passing touchdowns in a single year, honestly think he's going to overtake Drake May as the consensus 103 in Superflex Dynasty Superflex Dynasty rookie mocks. I think he's going to end up being the 103 just because of that rushing profile. So I'm very happy to take him here at the 104. Still do like Drake May as an NFL profile, but I think in fantasy we're going to end up going with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, and if you've seen a lot of the mocks out there, there have been a lot of times people tying Jaden Daniels to the Atlanta Falcons, and obviously pipe dreams. We're all in the fantasy world hoping for somebody to come rescue Bijan, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts, and maybe Jaden Daniels is the answer with a new coaching staff. That would definitely vault him up there into that same conversation for the 102 even potentially. But yes, for sure the 103 over Drake May. But I think there's going to be some arguments made if Jaden Daniels lands in an ideal spot. So that for me is the top four. Shake it up, spin it around however you like. This top four for me is pretty much locked in. Again, landing spots, those types of things, capital are going to make a difference, but that's pretty much it. And so getting into the next tier of picks, this is a tight end premium. There are a couple, there is a guy that really stands out as a quote unquote generational elite prospect. And, it depends on the tight end premium I'm playing in. If this was a 2.0 tight end premium, I might have a conversation for, putting Brock Bowers up here, but I am not passing up on my 1B for wide receiver in this class. And that is going to be one Malik Neighbors. Yeah, there's really nothing I really need to get into here. Like he's an absolute stud. He's the next LSU prototypical wide receiver that we're going to see coming out. Athletic, great route runner, speed. Like he has everything you want. And honestly, he was better than Marvin Harrison this past year. When you really look at the numbers and you look at what happened, he was better than Marvin Harrison. I know profile wise, Marv does a lot of different things and is a more complete wide receiver. But there's not a huge gap for me in between Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. So I have zero issue snagging a bunch of Neighbors here at the 105 in Superflex rookie mocks.
Man, I don't know if I want to come out and say to get like this early, but looking at just like first look of tape, whenever I look at these two players, I honestly kind of like Malik Neighbors more. Like just purely looking at the film and looking at the tape, like I honestly think it's just because Marvin Harrison just makes everything look so freaking easy that it doesn't look like he's all that good. Like it kind of just looks like he's just like, it looks so easy that he doesn't look special, which in itself is special, right? For Marvin Harrison Jr., but Malik Neighbors, the athleticism, the quickness in and out of routes. I think it was the NFL Stock Exchange guys, whenever they were talking about him, just like he's able to accelerate while braking.
Dude.
And like it's incredible the way he moves on the field compared to everybody else. It like comeback routes, he's absolutely dominating everybody. The way that he can take any in or out route and just beat his guy every single time. And they literally compared him to Antonio Brown because of the way that he can accelerate through breaks. I don't honestly disagree. Like, can he get there? Like, obviously he has to get there.
Right.
There's a lot to get to that point.
Quarterback.
But just the profile wise and the way he moves is kind of like AB-ish. It's absolutely, I do really like Malik Neighbors. I agree with you that there isn't actually that much separation between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors. Absolutely love the 105 in drafts where I can just either get any of the three top quarterbacks that we project right now or Malik Neighbors share falling to me. One of my favorite spots in the draft.
Before you take that 106, the one thing I was going to say just real quick on that same comment, like I'm glad you said something about it because I feel the same way. Like it feels like a crime to say that that Malik Neighbors or any other player even compares or could be on the same level as Marvin Harrison Jr. It just feels like a crime because of, I think, everything that goes into Marv. But when we're talking about value, when you're talking about where you're drafting in these rookie drafts, I am totally fine. Like I want my fair share of Marv. Absolutely do. But if you're telling me I can quote unquote settle for Malik Neighbors at the 105, sign me up, man. If he was
6'3", 210, it wouldn't be like there would legitimately just be 1A, 1B conversations. If he was 6'3", 210. Like that's the only thing that Marv has over him. It's just that size, speed, athletic combo. That's that true prototypical wide receiver. Like he has a lot of other things as well along with that. But I do think that if you just put Malik Neighbors in his body, there would be a massive conversation about who is the best wide receiver in this class.
Agreed. But all right, take us into that 106 here.
Into the tight end premium, like you were saying, it's not specified here what the tight end premium actually is. I'm going to say it's 1.75, and I'm going to have a little bit of fun with this one because the next pick is one of the best players in the draft. I do believe at the end of the day, he will be a top 10 pick. And like you just pulled up for me, it is Brock Bowers, one of the absolute best prospects that we've seen over the past couple of years. We've been waiting for him to come out. And just like Caleb Williams, it feels like there's a little bit of fatigue with Brock Bowers because it felt like he was going to come in basically as the tight end one. And then we saw guys like Sam Laporta, Trey McBride come out at the end of the year. And I feel like we're not giving the respect that Brock Bowers' profile has deserved for the past couple of years. Now, you're looking at this. I mean, truthfully, in terms of just production, 56 receptions, 714 yards. Don't know why that number isn't bolded. We will fix that one, not in post, but for the next time. Did forget to fix that one. But it's not like insane. It's not like insane stats, but whenever you just look at this guy play, man, it's just an absolutely different animal on the field. Brock Bowers, by far and away, in a very shallow tight end class. I don't know if there's going to be 3, 4, maybe 4 tight ends drafted in rookie drafts throughout all of the rounds. Some guys will definitely come out through the process for sure whenever they start testing and they give us RAS score numbers and everything like that. But Brock Bowers is by far and away the best one, well over another guy who we may see later, probably not in this mock draft, only being one round, in JT Sanders. So it's Brock Bowers here by far and away at a tight end premium. Depending on what your tight end premium is, I think that the 106 is probably about the right spot for Brock Bowers to go.
Yeah, it feels about right. Agreed. And that's another tier break for me. Again, we have two levels of tier breaks there for us. And then we're going to get into the 107. And for me, I struggle with one other player here, but I think it's clear it's going to be Romo Dunes. And there's something about him. It's almost, you talked about Marv looking like he's doing it so effortlessly and making it seem like this is just too easy. He's very smooth. He has great route running ability, comes in and out of breaks very easily. He's a big physical presence. Like, I love the wide receiver, but it just seems like because of the class that we have with Neighbors and Marv that we just don't talk about Rome all that much at all. He's just kind of like yeah, nice consolation prize there in the middle of the draft. You got Rome, perfect. Happy to have him, but yeah, I do think that depending on situation, where he goes, what quarterback he's tied to, he could be a very, very productive rookie. So I'm happy to have him at the 107. And I think he's the last one. There's one other guy I'm kind of interested in here, but I think Rome is just going to be the one I'm going to leave here at the 107 for the time being.
I think so as well. He's definitely my third wide receiver off the board. I know our guy Ray G does support Romo Dunze as even in the same tier almost as Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors. He says it's a 1A, 1B, 1C class whenever really this is his cutoff of that 107, 106, depending upon if Brock Bowers in your format is actually going to be in there as well. If it's a non-tight end premium, sorry, just the tight ends don't matter. Brock Bowers is probably outside of it, even as good as a prospect as he is. It has to be perfectly right for him and everything like that. We've seen what Kyle Pitts has done, and he's been the perfect prospect and fallen outside of the top 12 tight ends until, you finally fire Arthur Smith, and now he's back in the top 12 because of the upside. I saw him taken at the second overall tight end in a startup mock here today. That is just absolutely crazy because apparently Bill Belichick is going to turn him into the next Rob Gronkowski. Don't think that that's exactly going to happen, and don't think you should do that. Yeah. Don't also think you should do it with Brock Bowers, but let's move on. That is a story for a different day. What we do have today, though, is trying to make this 108 pick, and I need to pick basically what is wide receiver 4 right here. I'm not going to go with another quarterback. The tight ends are obviously not on the board. I don't think there's a first-round running back that is worthy of taking in Dynasty rookie drafts right now. And so I'm going to go with my wide receiver 4, and I don't know how this one's going to be received. I have not seen many people put him at wide receiver 4, but it's the guy that we don't have the graphic for yet. But Troy Franklin out of Oregon is my wide receiver 4. I absolutely love this dude. It is insane the way that he moves on the football field. He moves at a different speed compared to everybody else. He is not great laterally whenever he catches the ball. Like, there's not great lateral yak after he catches the ball. But whenever he is on a straight line, I mean, if you just put him on a crosser route, hit him in stride, he's gone to the house probably 50% of the time. And that's what happened at Oregon with Bo Nix all the time. during his junior season. It was absolutely insane what these guys were able to do together. I do really love Troy Franklin. We've seen him mocked at the back of the first round against like the Kansas City Chiefs, who could use a vertical threat that can actually catch the ball. It would be absolutely fantastic to see him in a place like that. But anywhere where he can be used in rhythm and within the routes to be able to carry on his elite speed that he possesses, I absolutely love Troy Franklin. Over a couple of the other burners that we do have in this class, Troy Franklin is my one that comes in here at the 108.
Yeah, I hate that you took him. I was hoping you were going to go somewhere else because the guy that I'm about to take, I don't want to. But yeah, I love myself some Troy Franklin. I know, NFL wise, there's going to be some knocks on kind of the frame and things like that. But he's a big, fast dude, and you're probably not going to like this comp. But like when you really think about it, it's kind of a compliment. He's a he's Trey Palmer on steroids. Like he can do the same deep speed things that Trey Palmer can do, but Trey Palmer has nothing underneath. He has no true route running ability. That's what Troy Franklin has. He can hit those intermediate and underneath routes and has a better ability to do that than what Palmer does. So
if you want the elite upside side of it, between like Trey Palmer being the lower side and the upside being like Devonta Smith is my upside comp for him, of
I
just
like
like
that.
he has a lot of just straight up just speed that he wins with the slender
Right.
frame that he is. He's much taller than Devonta Smith. I think Devonta Smith is like under 6 foot. Troy Franklin actually has some size along with the slender frame, but he has the same, in my mind, he has the same elite speed and ability to separate, just a little bit less than the yak and after the catch ability than Devonta Smith does.
That's fair, and just the hands, like he does make some very good contested catches. So I really like that in his body control, and that's great to see for a wide receiver, especially in the red zone. So yes, love Troy Franklin. So yes, happy you put him there at the 108, but bummed I'm going to miss out on taking him at the 109. As I stall here, and I don't really want to do it, but like I think I'm going to have to take Keon Coleman. Like, there's nothing against Keon Coleman, but you and I have talked about him a little bit tonight, and it's more or less the things that stand out in the negative than the positive for me, and that's kind of the big thing for Keon Coleman is like, all right, well, he doesn't seem like he's that like he doesn't have that acceleration. He has incredible contested catch, incredible jump ball skills, body control, like spectacular catchability. But like it just doesn't seem like there's not a lot of great, not a very good route tree, not a very good route runner, at least at this point in his life. Maybe that will change. I don't know. Just looks lumbering out there at times. So I don't want to say he's a bust. That's not going to be the thing we're going to say in January. But I don't love taking Keon Coleman here in the first, just because you're just banking on big play. Like hopefully he jumps up and catches a few deep balls in a game.
I mean, you would put out whenever we were talking to Mike Williams comp,
Yeah.
the comp that I'm scared for, honestly, within the fantasy community, especially because you know how we just love to all gang up on like one guy per draft class and just absolutely bury. And whenever he doesn't produce, he's immediately dead. It's Quentin Johnston. And I think he's going to be comped a lot to what you just said, Mike Williams, and what you talking about Mike Williams. I think he's going to be comped to a lot to Quentin Johnston, regardless of if it's good or not, whether it's a good or comp or not. I think he's going to be comped a lot to him, and it's going to be a lot to overcome for Keon Coleman. I do think he's a good player. I do think he's a good NFL player. I do think he will serve a role, but I just don't, like you kind of said, like just lumbering at times where it looks like I could honestly see him going out the combine and running like 4.6. And if he does that, it's going to be bad in the streets for Keon Coleman. He definitely won't be going in the first round if that happens. There's just a lack of overall athleticism and ability that I kind of see. But I really do like what you said in the body control, the contested catches. He uses his massive frame, like what, 6'4", 220 almost, I believe. He is one of those like prototypical X wide receivers, kind of like a Mike Williams, like you said, where he can just use his body to shield off defenders, and he does that at such a high rate to make these contested catches, end zone fade routes. I mean, it's just absolutely like he puts highlight reel catches on the film all the time. but how consistently can you do that at the NFL level, and how consistently can you separate at the NFL level if you don't have that short area quickness, which is what I think he just lacks a little bit. Like you said, the speed and agility just isn't really there for me. But I do understand putting him here at the 109. I'm going to go a little bit of a different route, and I'm going to go to. I don't like this one. I don't like this one, but I'm just going to do a little bit of projection here. I got to do a little bit of projection, and I got to go quarterback, and I'm going to go with the quarterback who I think personally shows me the most QB upside of any of these three guys left. There's Bo Nix, there's Michael Penix, and there's JJ McCarthy. I think you can put any of those guys in right now. I don't think anybody, if you ask around the fantasy space, I don't ask around the NFL space, I don't know who's going to go there. But I think one of these guys is going to go there. And in my mind, that guy is Michael Penix Jr. right now. Michael Penix Jr. being here at the back of the first to be the quarterback 4
3,
off the board,
4. Yeah.
and maybe in the late 20s range, or maybe even at the beginning of the second round. I mean, we saw Will Levis eventually fall here once he was at the top of the second round, about the 110 of last year's draft. I think that one of these quarterbacks is going to be there, and if I had to make the bet right now, it would be Michael Penix over JJ McCarthy and over Bo Nix. I don't know which one's going to be there, but me personally, from what I've seen, he doesn't handle pressure very well, and he is old and he is injury prone. But truthfully, if you put him into a system that works for him, I think he can be a very good pocket passer. Everybody's going to make the Tua Tagovailoa comparison, right? Because he throws lefty, he throws with that rhythm, and in the system throws that Tua does as well. He looks exactly like him. I'm sorry, like it looks exactly like
he has a better arm, I think. I think
he has a much stronger arm, and
yes.
he's able to like put a ball on an absolute rope, like we saw in the
Yes.
semifinal games, which is absolutely awesome that he has that ability. But there's a lot of other things that are lacking here, along with a questionable injury profile as well. So he does fall here to the 110. I don't know if he's going to be the quarterback, but I'm gonna stamp my mark on saying that Michael Penix right now, probably not by the time we get to draft, it'll probably be completely different. But right now, I'll put Michael Penix here at the 110.
Yeah, I think that's any quarterback that gets taken in the late first, early second, whether that whoever it would be at that point, that's kind of the route you have to go. If you do have to make the decision prior to, it's taking a gamble. I mean, you could totally swing and miss, but at the same time, I get it. I do think he's probably the quarterback 4 in the class right now. You can make the argument for JJ McCarthy because of his, truly his raw talent and the athleticism that he boasts that could truly translate to the NFL on a whole different level. But there is some development that needs to be done there before that time comes. I don't think he's a day one starter in my opinion. So I still need to watch a little bit more and figure a little bit more about JJ McCarthy. But yeah, don't mind that at all. At the 111 here, I'm just going to stick with the wide receiver train. You left me a potential guy that I think could be very successful. I still need to really finish everything on Brian Thomas Jr., but the physical talent is there. He is flashed at times. There are times he completely disappears from a game, which is concerning. You
Happens whenever you're playing alongside Malik Neighbors and Justin Jefferson and all the other guys that have come out of LSU, right?
Absolutely. I mean, but he, in terms of like what I have seen, he has really good stop ability, which he can use. He's a big physical receiver. He's your prototypical size. He is fluid. I don't know if the route tree is fully there yet, but again, that's something that can be developed in time. But yes, very formidable target. And I think it's something that he, depending on the situation that he falls into, could be a very good wide receiver 2 on a team. I don't know if he's a true alpha. And maybe that's just because he has been playing alongside all those other guys. But yes, I do want to see a little bit more out of him as far as film and kind of really breaking him down. But he's a big physical dude. I think 6'4", 202 or 205. But I don't think he uses what he has to the best of his ability. I mean, I don't even want to say like the negative side all the time here, but like a la Terrace Marshall kind of thing where it's like you love the intangibles, you love kind of the size, you love what it looks like, but like just not quite there as far as using his skills to the best of his ability. I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong on that.
I don't think you are, unfortunately. obviously I haven't sat down and watched through all of like the all
Same.
22
I need.
tapes, but we've watched through everything that our guy we got
Oh,
Xbox
Dan.
on Draft Prospects is put together. Good old Xbox out there doing the dirty work for us and
Yep.
putting these film cuts together for us over on Draft Prospects. Absolutely fantastic. I've been watching them for about the past week, trying to get through all these wide receivers for y'all. But I put on Brian Thompson Robinson, and maybe it was because I just watched Malik Neighbors, but it's not even freaking close, man. Like he was drafted, he was originally supposed to be the better wide receiver coming into LSU over Malik Neighbors, and then Malik Neighbors overtook him and even overtook guys like Kayshon Boutte as well whenever they were both at school, right? But it's just no comparison for me. Like it's just a complete separation of talent whenever you put these two guys on the film compared to each other. He does have a lot of big playability, a lot of touchdowns that he did have while he was at LSU. But again, how much of that is really Brian Thompson? How much of it is Jaden Daniels? There's a little bit of a I mean, we're going to say the same thing about League Neighbors, right? Like it was a prolific offense that they put together kind of alongside that Joe Burrow offense whenever they did have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase at the same school, which is just crazy about how this wide receiver university is going right now. But I don't see it with Brian Thompson. It just
Thomas.
feels mid to me. Like it just feels really mid. Brian Thomas. I'm
Thomas.
so
You're good. I was all I heard Thompson. I'm like,
Thompson.
wait, what?
Thompson?
You're
Yeah, no.
good. You're
Brian
good.
Thomas Jr. But no, it just feels kind of mid to me every time I watch him. We'll see more. Obviously, I want to get more of the all 22 to be able to really dig into him and this entire LSU offense as well. But I just don't have that right now. We'll dig into it more, but man, it's hard to get there on the surface. So we're gonna wrap this one out with the 112, not with Brian Thompson, but with Brian Thomas at the 111. Let's fix that one up right
I
before we
got it.
go any further. But I'm gonna do something that I unfortunately don't want to do really here at the
Ooh.
112.
Taking a
It's
running back?
unfortunate because I would love to take a running back. I really would because I really love Blake Corum. I'm not gonna take Blake Corum though.
Oh,
Going to go against my tradition. I'm going to go against my heritage. I'm going against who I am as a person, and I'm going to take Xavier Worthy at the 112. It's unfortunate that I have to do this, but I do think that it is truly the right process and the right thing to do for the people who are not just A&M alums like me who have everything, like their entire life based around this cult. I love my cult. But Xavier
yeah.
Worthy's a good wide receiver. He's much better than his counterpart in Adonai Mitchell as well. He's a little bit limited though. I think he's a vertical kind of stretch wide receiver. I don't know if I think he can play within the intermediary levels of the offense, but I don't think that's where he excels at. I do think that truly like he's basically a Troy Franklin, but I don't think he has as much like the route running ability and the intermediary ability at Troy Franklin does. And that's why I have him lower, but they kind of have the same profile. I mean, I'm going to say Thompson for the rest
Thomas.
of this draft comp for the rest of
Like
this.
me and a band of candle last year.
Yep, it's gonna be a Banacanda all over again. But I think all these players are very much the same in terms of their overall just archetype. But Xavier Worthy's the last one of them, and that's why I have him here at the 112. I don't know if he possesses that, but he could get to the NFL and immediately possess that. Honestly, whenever you go back and you watch the film, Quinn Ewers is horrible trying to hit this guy. It's bad. I feel really bad thinking that Quinn Ewers was actually a good NFL quarterback whenever I go back and watch tape of Adonai Mitchell and Xavier Worthy. It's bad how much he just misses them on every ball. Every ball over 15 yards is nowhere close to these guys. It's hard to watch, honestly. And Xavier Worthy does get separation from the D-back most of the time. The ball's just not anywhere for him to catch. Could have had a lot more yards. I'm very much fading Quinn Ewers after watching the tape of these two guys. But to close this one out, Xavier Worthy is my last pick at the 112. You have anything about him?
Yeah, I do. I think he's at his best when he has like when the ball's in his hands, like when he's able to actually catch the, I mean, he can run slants and things like that. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's able to use that speed to his ability, to the best of his ability. He's an absolute nightmare. I do think that they need to move him around in formations. He's not just like an outside wide receiver. Again, I know everyone has kind of debunked the myth that size matters in the NFL, but he does get knocked off routes pretty easily in the college level, and I just don't know if he's going to be able to continue to do that in the NFL level. Everyone's like, oh, well, Smitty does this, Smitty does that. And it's like, yeah, Smitty's a different breed. Like Smitty's a one of a kind wide receiver. Like I love
Nobody in this class is Smitty. I'm sorry.
no, no. And so if you're going to compare him to Devonta Smith just because of his size, that is not how this works. But yeah, I do think that he can be a good, wide receiver 2 on a team as well. I don't know if he's again a true alpha. I honestly probably would switch this pick and put him at the 111. I think that just because of how I feel about Brian Thomas, I have more hope for Xavier Worthy than I do Thomas. I do think that if he ends up in a good offensive system, that we could see a lot from Xavier Worthy. And if he can use his speed to his ability and have a quarterback that can throw him balls, yes, absolutely going to be investing in some Xavier Worthy at the back of a first. So that's pretty much all I wanted to touch on there. This is kind of where we're at right now. This is very early. This is January 18th as we're recording this. So super early in the process. Still have a lot to tap into as far as watching film on some other players that could jump their way into the first round. Because as we mentioned, truly like 108, I'd say 109 and down basically. Is a crapshoot. It's going to be a lot of landing spots. We got a lot of the process still to come, a lot more to learn about these players. And as draft capital gets assigned, obviously we'll have some shakeups at that point. But in the meantime, I think we're 8 deep, and that I'm comfortable saying like, yeah, I'd be happy with any of these 8, maybe 7. Maybe I'll cut it off at 7.
Yeah,
I'm a little higher on Troy Franklin, but
we both are. I think we're
yeah.
both going to love him throughout the entire process, and he's probably going to be our 108 consensus, but he's definitely not like outside of us, outside of TFDR. I don't think he's going to be the consensus wide receiver 4, but I feel like we did not discuss Troy Franklin at all coming into this, but
it's funny.
I'm pretty excited that both of us are very high on Troy Franklin.
Hey, this time last year was the same thing on Zay Flowers. Both were very excited about Zay Flowers, but felt we shouldn't be ranking him higher because of the other prospects in this class. So you know what? Maybe we just roll with it. We talk about our love for Troy Franklin and it pays off. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say 8 just because I love Troy Franklin for right now, and it's January. You can kill me if you want to because of that, because I don't care. It's January. So anything else you want to add before we wrap up this draft?
Get your 105 and higher picks. So that's the ones that I really care about. Honestly, even in tight end premium, unless it's like start 2 tight end, I don't even really care about Brock Bowers that much. But I love the top 5 of this class, man. Like that's where I want all my picks to be in. If I can do anything to move up from the 106 to the 112, I would almost pay another first on top of my 106 to 112 to get into the 105. Like that is just the pure gold, locked and loaded. I have no questions about range right now, and so I would do anything to get up into that 101, 105 range.
And if you have the 101 or 102 and you're comfortable acquiring some more assets, maybe moving down a couple slots is the move for you, depending on what mode you're in with your specific team. Those things matter. Let us know in the comments down below. What's if you have some questions on some of these players, some of these picks, make sure you do like this video and subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a ton. Follow us on X at Cody Smith TFDR, at Trophy Chase TFDR. You can see it down below. So make sure you tap in and follow us there. Check us out on Destination Devia as well. We are drop every single Monday. Tuesday. Yeah, we record Monday. We drop every single Tuesday the Overreaction podcast on Destination Devia Radio. So make sure you check that out. And thank you so much for joining us here in the Fantasy Draft Room.